Net zero is dying. The battery powering the climate change rort is weakening as businesses, governments, and donors reject its dogma in mass. Eventually, they actually want to make some money. Like, they're sick of the lies. Like in Australia, oh yeah, the switch to green energy is going to reduce your electricity prices, and then they're ballooning. Current year was the year the West turned its back on the climate-geddon moral panic that has bled our treasuries dry, corrupted science, and wasted years of our lives, writes Noel Yaxley. Thankfully for me, I didn't fall for this shit. Maybe it's because I'm old enough to remember all the fear-mongering when I was a kid about shit that never fucking happened. The big one that we haven't heard anything about in recent decades is still fucking acid rain. Like, man, they were fear-mongering that shit hard. Like, oh yeah, the acid rain is literally gonna burn down all the forests. It's gonna be horrible. Fingers crossed, it seems like the moral panic over global warming is dying out. Well, after decades of being proven that these guys don't know what they're actually talking about, we might see things turn around, but it might be too late for a lot. Even Granny Greta has paused her eco-neurosis. Well, that's because she realized there was no money in the climate grift anymore, so she pivoted to the Palestine grift instead. Aside from a few attention-seeking hissy fits disguised as political protest, the Swedish pint-sized prophetess of doom has devoted her time to more fashionable causes. That's right. Climate cult does not go out quietly. Oh, that's because a lot of them are very heavily invested in this. They've dumped so much time and money into this, they can't let it fail. A lot of the politicians that push this, they got friends and family members running green companies that stands to lose a lot of money if this scam were to collapse. They can't let it collapse because they have everything invested in it. So COP30 in Berlin accomplished nothing. Similar to kids dressed as zombies for Halloween, its intellectually challenged corpse is resurrected every year, but everywhere else it has died. It's literally just an excuse for billionaires to fly in on their private jets and virtue signal at us saying we need to eat the boogs to save the planet. That's the whole purpose of this event. As they deforest the fucking Amazon rainforest to make room for it. Bill Gates' recent statement that climate change will not lead to humanity's demise following the gutting of his climate philanthropy group is the latest nail and are already driven into its coffin. So is it safe to point this out now? It's not going to get us canceled anymore? I guess it must be. In October, the Net Zero Banking Alliance shut down after many of the world's largest banks, including Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, HSBC, Barclays, and Strauss Macquarie, have exited the alliance throughout current year. Oh my God, this isn't popular anymore. We're going to have to leave. Shows how dedicated they were to the cause. Shell and BP have scaled back their investment in renewable energy and returned to the burden of business of fossil fuel production, much to the delight of their shareholders. Hey, to be fair, a lot of their shareholders were pushing for this shit too, but they must have sold their shares and been replaced at this point. With the electric vehicle boom stalling across the West. Yeah, you want to know why the electric vehicle boom is stalling? Because the thing that made it a boom in the first place, the government subsidies, because those are going away. And the full price of electric cars is now hitting people hard. That's what's fucking happening. Now that the government isn't subsidizing this shit, people are realizing these electric cars are way more expensive. And in fact, unless you keep them for over a decade, which most people don't, you're not going to get your money back. Like all the savings from not buying gas, you're never going to see that anyway. Pretty much everyone I know who got an electric vehicle, they're all of the opinion, like, yeah, I'm going back to gas next time. Like, fuck this shit. The car industry is undergoing the great EV turn. Major automobile manufacturers have shelved or postponed their once ambitious electric vehicle plans due to lack of growth in consumer demand. And then you got Jaguar, who after that disastrous ad campaign decided to go 100% electric. You guys remember that? Because that was fucking hilarious. It appears that no matter how hard the state attempts to socially engineer demand, the general public is uninterested in electric vehicles. Maybe once the technology develops, they will be, but it's going to be a while. Climate targets have been quietly abandoned by many multinational companies, including Microsoft and Walmart. The increasing global pushback is not limited to the business sector. More than 100 countries have not committed to any particular goal of achieving net zero emissions by 2050. And then meanwhile, you got all the cucks out there who want to double down. So only 46% of those surveyed Dutch residents think they'll need to change their lifestyle because of climate change, much lower percentage compared to the EU average of 72%. Well, a lot of these people, they're not going to be around for very long because they're probably going to die from some anxiety-related disease relatively shortly. We covered that months ago, remember? That there's a mental health crisis among the youth because they were brainwashed into believing that that the world is literally going to end in a few years, and they actually believe it, and they're just constantly stressing over it. If they don't get their shit together, they're going to be filtered out quickly. In the glorious American empire, Orange Man revoked the executive order previously enacted by Brandon, while Straya has withdrawn for its bid to host COP31 Climate Summit next year. That's only because they realized they couldn't win. That's all. The gravy train's battery appears to be dead. For years, peddling the doom-laden eco-apocalypse has been lucrative business, tax breaks, subsidies, consultancy, gerbs, bestsellers, and research grants. As long as you kept getting the results they wanted, they'd pay for your research anyway. It was the grift that kept on giving. It was, wasn't it? Predictive modeling applied selective and worst-case scenario models to misrepresent or dramatically overstate the threat of climate change, scaring and shaming policymakers and transforming more public money to the problem. Yeah, they always say shit like they talk about the runaway greenhouse effect. That is a legitimate threat that could happen, but if we ever did end up in a runaway greenhouse effect, it would take generations. It's not like it would happen tomorrow. And there'd be plenty of time and warning to prepare and maybe figure out a way to reverse it. We were inundated with horrifying warnings. The coral reef is... Oh, I remember that too. The coral reefs are all dying. I remember that. Sea levels will rise by 6 meters. Yeah, in a billion years. Arctic sea ice will melt while new ice forms in other places. And the polar bears will go extinct. Well, fuck them. They hunt humans anyway. All of which have been shown to be absolute nonsense. Oh, yeah, and all of that was going to be by 1985. Scientists were aware of this fact, but continue to receive funding grants. Yep, they killed everyone's faith in Masoyans so they could keep collecting paychecks. They knew this shit was bogus, but I got a family to feed. Activists hijacked the climate debate, employing more dramatic language to get attention. Climate change became an emergency and then a crisis. Oh, no, don't forget, it used to be global warming before it was global cooling and then global warming. But anyway, once they realized they couldn't agree on whether the Earth is allegedly warming or cooling, then they just rebranded to climate change because this is something you legitimately can't deny. The climate is always fucking changing, and they can spin it to be whatever they want. Global flooding was a grift to make poor people sell the coastline. Yeah, because what a funny coincidence that while they're doing that grift, all these rich liberals that were pushing the global flooding grift, they were all moving to the coastlines. We're going to be underwater in the next 5 years, guys, as I buy a McMansion on the coast. Yeah, I swear, guys, I'm super serial. And even now, knowing all of this, there's still fucking idiots out there that don't see this. Are you really going to trust the alarmist politician freaking out about rising sea levels as they're buying beachfront property? They're obviously not all that concerned. XR co-founder Roger Hallam claimed that climate change will lead to the death of 6 billion people this century. This apocalyptic vision indoctrinated a new generation of eco-extremists. Yeah, like kids that literally have mental issues, like anxiety issues, because they were brainwashed into believing the world's going to end in like 10 years. Yeah, the climate has changed to -2 Fahrenheit where I'm at. Yeah, that's climate change. Time rich but intellectually bankrupt, the irrational fears of this comfortably well off take precedence over the lives of ordinary working people. That's the left in general for you. Activists with names like Hermione or Tarquin blocked highways from Melbourne to London, Berlin to New York, preventing deliverymen, ambulances, medics, builders, and mothers from earning a living and doing their jobs. But if we don't stop this, we're all literally gonna die. I bet you're gonna wish you stopped it then. So, well, what about these guys? If they live to be 70, are they gonna wish that they didn't waste their life worrying about this shit? Among the worst policy decisions made by Western governments, Climategeddon is second only to immigration. Our slavish devotion to saving the planet has led to this to the neglect of legitimate environmental issues, bled our treasuries dry, impoverished consumers, terrified our youth, wasted years of our lives, and corrupted science. It's going to take a long time for the public's trust to be restored in the science. So they've been lying about this. They're confused as to what a woman is. You can't trust these guys. I let current year +1 be the year we finally decapitated the zombie once and for all. Yeah, you got to double tap. Like if you're playing Resident Evil and you come across a corpse and there's no pool of blood around it, it's a zombie that's going to bite you when you get close. So double tap, man. Once the pool of blood shows up, then you're safe.